are people judging me or basing my knowledge about finances or wealth or my importance in society by these material possessions that I have and reading into them as a reflection of who I am as a person? How do you stay focused when it feels like everyone around you is in a different season?
Invest in yourself. Know what that looks like. We don't always have to do the safe option, because even the safe option can fail.
Ethnicity tax, right? And sometimes, quite a few people can come from really challenging backgrounds, which means that their finances may not be able to stretch as far as they would like it to because of these taxes.
Set your boundaries, and you have to set them strong. And sometimes they may just compare you to another woman and say, oh, so and so does that. That's okay for so and so, but you need to have a balance with your life.
And welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
I'm Renee.
And I'm Bola Sol.
And we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
Ooh, yes, we are so excited to bring yet another guest, our dear sister, Bola Sol.
Bless you. Thank you.
We are so excited to have you on the podcast. Literally, the amount of times that we have spoken about like money, finances, especially within the context of like relationships, and having somebody that's actually, qualified in the area, because we're talking a whole qualified wealth advisor, somebody that can actually advise you, and we don't have to put the disclaimer.
Okay, we love it.
It's actually nice. 2x author, like Bola, you are so incredible, and you are such an inspiration, not just to the Sisterhood, but you're actually inspirations to both myself and Courtney individually.
Bless you.
So it's such a privilege and a pleasure to be able to bring you and actually share you with our sisters, as well as celebrate you, especially with this new milestone of yet another book, Your Money Life. Like,
praise God.
Girl, when I say timely book, timely book. But yeah, we are so excited to celebrate you. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. And yeah, we're really excited to just get into it, really.
Absolutely. This is not the first time your name has been mentioned on the podcast. A couple of episodes back when we were talking about women who build wealth.
Yes.
You were our anchor point because like Renee said, Your Money Life, this new book from you, is so timely. I think we talk about social life, we talk about our health and our well-being, but we don't talk about our money life and what it actually means to take care of our money properly.
Absolutely.
So girl, before we jump into the tidbits and the tips you have for the girls, introduce yourself. We can obviously introduce you, but you're a woman of many talents, many skills, many qualifications.
Qualifications, baby.
You tell us your story and you tell us who you are.
Bless you both. Thank you so much for a warm intro. Oh my gosh, now I know what it feels like when I intro other people. I'm Bola Sol. I am now a qualified financial advisor. I studied maths and finance at university, and I started a platform called Refinery. And within the last 9 years, I started a talk show called the Bola Sol Show that was literally on hold. And it's coming back at the UK Black Business Show in October. And I'm so excited. So excited. And I have worked in finance since I finished uni. And I have built an online community as well. And what's always been super important to me was literally helping people with their finances. It's not like I get rich off of other people. It's like, how are we honestly getting rich together? Rich meaning different things. That's really key, because we all have a different definition of rich, and that's okay.
Okay.
And I have had the pleasure of writing 2 books with Penguin and Murky Books. I have been featured on Forbes, the Telegraph, Guardian. I have worked with the Financial Times. I have worked with Nike. I've worked with Puma. I have worked with Google. I have worked with Meta, with Snapchat. I have worked with Geldem, worked with Guap, worked with Vamp UK, or just Vamp, because I know they'll be like, don't say Vamp UK. I am grateful that I have worked with communities I know, companies I know, and big corporations. That's always important to me. I don't think it has to be one or the other. It can be both. And yeah, super grateful for my journey. Super grateful that I'm now like a wealth advisor. And I've gone from being a finance graduate to a finance coach, finance wellness coach, finance expert, to a financial advisor. So that's
it's giving accolades as well. So beautiful. And what I really love about you, Bola. First of all, the way that you introduced yourself, there was so much power in the way that you introduced yourself that I think a lot of us, especially as sisters and women, can really glean from. And I love the fact that you are so passionate about helping people with their finances, especially because finances can sometimes still be really awkward to talk about, right? Like, not just within relationships, but actually individually. It's still something that conjures up discomfort in a lot of people. So I love the work that you're doing. We love the work that you're doing. We love the fact that you are so bold about it too. I guess starting off the conversation, finances, money, especially in society as a woman, can be tough.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the things that women are not necessarily well equipped for in today's society when it comes to managing their finances, earnings, money in general? What are some of the things that come to mind for you that women need to be better equipped for?
That's great. I'm going to start by saying investing. And I have done a lot of research into where we were. And less than 50 years ago, a woman in this country, the UK, couldn't get a bank account. Next year makes it 50 years since they first could get a bank account, which was 1975. So I also ask that we as sisters give each other grace as individuals. How far we have come in 50 years is actually very monumental. The fact that we can not only just have bank accounts, we can make money, we can buy houses now. There was a time you had to go with your husband or your father to buy a house. So first thing I'd say is grace. Next thing I'd say is bet on yourself. And that's what I mean by investing, because investing isn't just necessarily go and invest in index funds, go and invest in bonds, go and invest in property. It's also invest in yourself. Know what that looks like. We don't always have to do the safe option, because even the safe option can fail.
That's so good.
So it's really okay to like try things. And that's what I spent a lot of my 20s doing. I was really okay with not having all the answers. I didn't want to. That's your first decade of adulthood. It is really okay to figure it out. And we'll continue figuring it out throughout our lives. But the whole point is that's your first decade of adulthood. Allow it to be a little rough and a little stumbly, and it will get better. So yeah, definitely that. What we need to know more of is us investing in ourselves, betting on ourselves.
Yeah, that's so good. And I really love that you said even the safe option can fail.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us can relate, especially with the sisterhood. A lot of us as diaspora, a lot of us have, parents who are from a different generation, literally, and from a different cultural context who, are pushing us, doctor, lawyer, engineer, do something that is safe. Please do something that is prestigious, but also that we know to be safe. And I love that you said sometimes even safe options can fail. And with new markets and opportunities emerging, especially like post-pandemic, and how quickly the world is evolving with new technology and advancements, there needs to be this embrace of the unfamiliar and actually taking risks. But when it comes to money, taking risks can be really, really hard. We tend to default back to that safe mode and what actually is familiar. So what would you say to women who are trying to get more comfortable with risk and risk taking?
Oh, I would say start small. Literally just start small and build up. When I first started investing at some point, because I'm 32 now, I know we also have this thing as women where we don't always talk directly about our age. And I noticed that you start seeing 25, 35, and I'm like
28, and you could be anything.
20, great. Like you start, and then the thing is, I've just come to look at your nice birthday picture online. Now I'm trying to figure out, what is it fine? Is it 25? Is it 29? It's okay. Let us enjoy.
End up offending somebody that you thought was 29.
Literally. So, sorry, what was the question again? I got into
What would you say? What would you say to women who are trying to embrace risk and become?
Oh, that's where we were. Thank you. Start small. It's literally okay to start small. When I first started investing, I started with about £50 a month when I was on a salary, and that was literally okay. And the whole point was not that I expected it to do so much at £50, but it was £50 every month consistently. I was looking for impact, I was looking for change, and I was looking to learn. And it's okay to do that, because guess what? You can work in finance, you can study finance, it still doesn't mean that you know it. People work at banks, they still don't know about finances. So it was for me to learn on my own and to be okay with the level of risk I was taking at that stage in my life. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. I'm in WhatsApp groups with big boys who talk about, yeah, I'm chucking 2K in there. So, yep, that's what you're doing. I'm doing what I feel safe with. I'm like, you're not.
You don't have to worry about me.
Because we have different situations. We could even have the same bank balance. It doesn't matter. You have to do what feels comfortable for you. Start small and learn along the way. Like, I think in the UK, British culture is very much, and I know to my sisters is worldwide, but just to quickly touch on British culture, it's very much like property. It's not slapping how it used to. It still is a bit, but it's a lot of work in comparison to looking into REITs, which is real estate investment trusts, for example. There's different, I could talk about index funds, I could talk about different ways in which you can make money, in which you're not having to do as much work as, oh, the boiler's gone out at the property that I've invested in, and things like that. So I would definitely say start small. Don't feel the need to do what everyone else is doing, because everyone doesn't know where they're going anyway. Like, we all have different paths. And when we get comfortable with that, we can uniquely go on our own journey. So literally start small, learn your lessons. Of course, you can pick up things online. I love me a good, I love you lot's YouTube channel. I love me a good YouTube. I was literally just looking at Proverbs 31 woman on YouTube, listening to it on the way here. But I also know that my journey is my journey. Same goes with finances. Yeah.
I really, really love that. And I really love the fact that you're really emphasizing for a lot of women to go on your own journey. Because we live in an era where it's hard to do that now, right?
Yeah.
You only have to go online and this person is flashing this person has bought this new car, this person has gotten this new house, and not to, rain down on their parade, but there's so much pressure to live particular lifestyles or look like you're getting that money. Everybody on Twitter is now making six figures allegedly, so the streets say, you know what I mean? So I guess for women that feel under pressure to maintain this lifestyle that they don't have right now, or feel under pressure to kind of keep up with the Joneses, how do they come to a place where they're actively starting to just accept the fact that, hey, this is out of my budget right now, or this is something that I'm aspiring to, and keeping themselves focused and motivated towards their individual financial goals?
It's going to sound corny. Trust the timing of your life. Like, for real, everyone isn't going to get the things that they want at the same time as other people. The thing is, now there's lots of comparison. You go online, you see someone get married or buying a beautiful house and things like that, but you don't know their journey. You have to be patient with yours and focus on yours and support those around you. Have your community, support those around you, but you don't have to make it that way. And one of the things that I have learned is everyone's living differently. You genuinely don't know what some people have done to get to where they be or to buy certain things, whether it's legal or illegal.
That part.
So, or maybe, someone like me, for example, I'm in a very blessed place. The dream car I wanted and the home that I have, I bought a property. It took me ages to get there. When everybody was being flashy, including my siblings, I had to tell myself, you have to be patient with your journey. Literally. I dated a guy once, and he said to me, and he saw my car and he said, you talk about finance and this is the car you drive.
Oh God.
And it was so funny, but I think his point was that
was attempted murder.
I'm so done.
Why did he say that to you?
I think he thought that talking about money meant that you had to look flashy. But once I bought my property, my car changed. My priorities needed to be in order, and that was hard. I'm not going to pretend. That was hard. My sister loves a Range Rover. She got in my old car one time. She said, I am so low to the ground.
She said, this is literally not the level I'm used to.
She said she could almost feel like the concrete under the tarmac. And the car wasn't even that bad, but the whole point was, like, it wasn't where I wanted to be when other people were in flashier places. But I had to tell myself, Bola, this is your journey, and when you get there, it's going to be sweet because of your patience. How you react in those times of patience are incredibly important, and because those will be the hardest. It's not, it's not like, oh, okay, I've got a 3-year window and I want to get here, and there, or 5-year when you first set the goal. It's the time within it that's so hard, and you're just like, this is so long. And I did different things. I decided to maybe every now and again go on holiday, but there was a year before getting my property. I was like, no holidays. I think it was in the midst of the pandemic. It was like no holidays, and that was going to be hard. Boy, I would make sure I ate everything in the cupboard at my mum's house first. I was not, but I was just like, it's going to be okay, because when you get there, no one can take it from you.
Yeah.
And I'm all about having things no one can take from me.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's really important. Another thing, even with possessions of any kind, I always remember you can't take it with you. A lot of things are fleeting. And sometimes when you start to get things regularly, they don't feel as cute anymore. My name actually means born into wealth. I have been around money a lot in different ways, and that doesn't always show up in possessions. It shows up in holidays. It shows up in the fact that although I speak like this, some people assume I've never been to Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria over 15 times. I can go, like, I've grown up in family richness. So I think it's also important that we learn to enjoy our journey. Some people, the riches you have, it comes from your community. It could come from your sisters, it could come from your friends, it could come from your family, whatever it is. And you have to learn to enjoy that, because sometimes, this is quite deep, but I've done a lot of therapy. There is a lot of past experiences that make up for why people feel the need to show what they have. And that's no shade, because everyone has their story.
Yeah.
But you also have to put that into perspective.
That's really, really, really deep. Yeah. That's really deep. No, because it's so true. Money for a lot of us is more of an emotional thing and an identity thing than it is just about wealth and resource, right? And I think for women in particular, the way we're kind of taught to have a relationship with money can be quite warped by the idea of money is there to make you feel better, but also you're using money to prove things to people about who you are. And I think that's for young people in general as well, right? Like you were saying about that comment about your car, or that feeling of like, are people judging me or basing my knowledge about finances or wealth or my importance in society by these material possessions that I have, and reading into them as a reflection of who I am as a person. And I think that's what actually distracts a lot of people on this journey towards building wealth. And there was that key thing you said there about focus, right? I think a lot of people are in that stage where they understand the concept of delayed gratification, but the practice of it is very uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. It's very hard.
Very difficult.
It's tough.
Oh my gosh. And I think this idea of focusing on your goals, focusing on, like you said, your priorities in that season can require so much sacrifice, but can be very hard to do when everyone around you is in a different season.
Yeah.
Not everyone around you is saving for a house. Not everyone around you. Some of them have bought their house and they're in their season of enjoyment, but you're still in your season of saving. How do you stay focused when it feels like everyone around you is in a different season?
I stay focused on my season. And it means that I can't join you where you are. I can meet you sometimes, but I can't join you where you are, because I know where I want to be. But I think I was first maybe 23 when I wanted my first property. And I spent 5K on the Bola Sol show, season 1. I literally had 100 people come. They did not bless those people for coming. They did not know what they were coming to, like what the topic was about, but we spoke about stereotypes. And I filmed it because I felt like at the time we really needed an eloquent, intellectual talk show. Especially the community I'm from. It was in Peckham Theatre, and it cost me like 5K. So, and I did 3 seasons. So the money that could have gone towards a property was that. And as you get older, you're a bit like, you become an adult, you graduate, and certain things happen. And then, my relationship with my mum was changing and stuff. I had to wait from about 20 to 23 to wanting a place, to 29 to reserving a plot and having an off-plan place. That was 6 years. All the patience it took, all the setbacks, the Bola Sol show not first time round, not panning out how I expected it to, my dad passing away, all of these things, they were setbacks. It required so much patience. Other people were in different seasons. People were receiving inheritance. I was like, right, currently don't have that. So, okay, thank you, next. Some people didn't care about properties. They wanted to go out. They wanted to socialize all the time. I couldn't do that because I knew what I wanted. And then obviously a bunch of other things that makes everyone's journey and season different. And I just had to say, you're never going to get to your season if your eyes are always darting into what everyone else's season is doing. I had to be really stern with myself. And it came to a point I was okay with being deemed boring. Because the 6 years that it took me to get to maybe where I wanted to be, in the last 3 years, the gratitude for where I am now, I don't even remember those 6 years. In comparison to where I am now, I am incredibly grateful, especially because it was everything I started saving up for was pre-pandemic. It's almost like the mental fortitude it took, the strength it took to say, don't get that new car. Don't buy a Rolex. Don't do those things. Don't buy those expensive things when you know all of these things are going to chip away at the life you want. I always say when I started to get more money, I was all about improving my life, not my lifestyle.
That's a word.
What's the distinction?
The distinction is when you make your life better, you do things that will improve your overall health and wealth in different ways. Your lifestyle is, let's do something that might temporarily make me better, might temporarily make me happier. A lifestyle could be someone's going out every weekend and things. A life improvement could be, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to do X. I'm going to do Y. And I like nice things too. I think it's really important to say that. I like nice things too, but you have to have a balance. And I know social media hasn't helped with the balance, but you definitely have to have a balance. So I always say, once you first start getting money, I'd say improve your life. I remember one of the things I did when I think I got a raise somewhere. I bought a really sick electric toothbrush.
Sometimes it gets like that. No. Listen,
the little things.
Sometimes it gets like that.
Literally improved my life. I started going on more holidays. Bit lifestyle-y, but I didn't do content for that purpose. It was this was good for my mental health.
Yeah.
When this country gets too dark, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
I tried it this year. Oh, it was so hot. I said time to humble myself, cost of living, worst time ever. Now I'm just saying, do you know what, Bola? Know yourself better next time.
Yeah.
Literally. So yeah.
No, there's something about that last winter that we experienced that I genuinely think
SAD.
Aggression. It was too much. But the year before, I had gone away for 1 week in January, February, and March to hot countries. There was no SAD.
You found the cure. You found the cure. But
yeah, there is a cheaper way of doing that, which I found as well, which is I just go to a nice gym with a sauna and steam room and get the heat that I need. So sometimes I would quit the gym in summer and then go back in winter. And if I couldn't afford a holiday, I would make sure that where you're catching me is the gym with a sauna and a steam room, so I can get kind of that heat therapy back. Sometimes that cold, it enters your bones.
Yeah, no, it's too much. No,
into your soul.
Into your soul. You know it gets really bad when you go outside and you're covered head to toe, but it's slapping your face.
And your eyes or your ears.
Or your nose is letting you down.
I'm covered like Whitney Houston in the bodyguard. It's here and here and it's still touching here. The little bit that's yeah. Actually, it's too much.
You just gave the girls a hack though. Heat
therapy is really real. It's really helpful.
No, that's so necessary, especially for our coloured sisters. Especially that vitamin D deficiency that you'd be experiencing every single winter is too much. It's too much. But what I really loved about what you were saying is the importance of self-control in your wilderness season, right? I think sometimes when we are in a valley of destituteness and we can see the promise at the end, right? We can get distracted because we want to feel good, or it's not a nice feeling to have to restrict yourself when you're already currently going through it in your life. knowing that, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but the light feels really distant. First of all, how do women cultivate more self-control when they're currently going through it? Because we have every single reason for us to indulge in our addictions or indulge in things that make us feel good in the moment, but they gratify us now, but later down the line, they cause more ruin or take us further and further away from the path that we desire to go. So for one, how do we cultivate more self-control? But also, how do we cultivate a vision that's actually long-term? I think what's beautiful about what you've also said, Bola, is having that long-term vision for yourself, right? Like, this is where I want to be in X amount of years, or this is what I'm looking towards to actually give me some perspective and something that I can root towards. What are some of the things that women as well in that season of wilderness or in that season of denying themselves for something a bit more long term or something that would actually be the things that people can't take away from them? What are some of those things that women can actually look towards, or what makes sense for women, especially in today's society, to cast their minds to or consider investing in as part of their financial journey?
I love that question. Number 2, so broad. I thought I had it. I probably have a bit more. But the first one, self-control, it's built in, and it's about having self-control and discipline in every area of your life. Now, sometimes it's hard. I say that because we have 4 hormonal, like, different structures in a month. That is hard. I don't want to write in my diary every day. I don't always want to wake up and say I'm grateful for this and that. My back hurts.
Legit, can we talk about that?
No, really, something is hurting.
That.
Something is hurting, and I'm just like, and if it's cold, so all of these things. But try to stick to a certain level of discipline. Make your bed every day, and once you're able to do those things, and you get into a good habit and a good routine of certain things, people clean on Saturdays or Sundays, play music and stuff like that. It will show up in different areas of your life. When I was like late teens, I really got into fitness, and it has helped with all around discipline. So I would say self-control comes from having discipline in your everyday life. If you don't have any of it, then fine. Also, you have to be okay with learning to stop. I learned quickly, in order for my life to pan out the way it wanted, I couldn't be out all the time. Sometimes I had to be inside working on my life, auditing. Sometimes we need to chill, we need to audit. We can't just be outside, whatever that looks like, because you're not taking care of your home. Take care of your home, your insides, everything. Also, have someone who is accountable to your goals. We need to learn to do that and be okay with sharing that with someone we love. I think a lot of the times we think within ourselves, I'll just deal with everything. I don't want to burden other people. People love you. And one of the best things I realized is love has to work both ways. It's not okay that you can just give and you can't receive.
Come on. Yep.
So you can't be like, oh, we're best friends, and then I have this goal and I never want to tell you. So from a very young age, I've had a best friend, and like, we are both living the lives we spoke about when I first started talking about money. She's one of the reasons I started talking about money. She is living the life. We are both living the lives. Accountability is incredibly important. That support, that we even check on each other. Fitness, 20th of every month, we're like, okay, so what's going on?
What's good?
Fitness, nutrition, how we doing? And we're like, fell off, hard week, and we're like, hero. But we give ourselves a maximum of a week to fall off before we're like back on. So that really helps. Self-control comes through practicing discipline, but also staying accountable, but someone who's really going to hold you accountable, and do it in a loving way. Because it's not always easy. Sometimes you do have to come a bit harder at the people you love, to be like, okay, but you did say that last week. I'm currently doing it with my sister, so it's just like, she's had her 3rd baby, and she's just like, she wants to get into fitness and stuff, and I'm like, cool. So then Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays she does it. So then she comes to tell me, I had to take my daughter out. And I said, okay, so you said that 2 days in a row, so next day I'm gonna message you. You have to be comfortable with that level of accountability. Everything isn't always softly. Sometimes it's a little bit more firm. So that's key. So I would say that. And then the second question, there were so many layers to it. Could you remind me of the final? Because you spoke about finances as well. But
so thinking about the first long-term vision for ourselves, right? What are some of the things that women can do, or what are some of the things that women can look towards as motivation, kind of long term, especially as it pertains to finances, that would set themselves up for that self-control, some of the things that make sense for women in today's society to really invest in as part of their vision?
First, just honestly read the Bible. Honestly, or read whatever you use for your faith, to understand the financial principles that you need, because if you follow those enough, other things can come, so that you can build a bigger picture. I remember when I was 20, I was like 22 or 23. A friend from secondary school, the boys' school, got cast in Star Wars. And I just thought, wow. And from a young age, he was very aware of what he was going to be in life.
Wow.
And I remember at the time my cousin's career was taking off, and it was taken off in a big way. And I was like, God, mine doesn't have to take off in the same way. It's not that I'm looking for fame. I'm looking to understand where I should be. I really started to like check in. What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be? But also, in order for you to do this, it sounds odd, but it's going to come full circle. I think you have to know where you're coming from. I think you have to do research into your family, who you are, who your grandparents were, who your parents are, all of those things to truly understand where you're going. And then I think you also have to be okay with the unknown, because while I can semi see where my career is going, I couldn't see everything. No one wants to be able to know everything that's happening anyway, because then you're just because then there's no thrill anymore. You're like, yeah, sure, that's going to happen next. You want to enjoy it. So sometimes I would say when it comes to financial goals, especially, honestly, know where you're coming from. Faith principles are really key. And then just allow the journey to unfold without you knowing everything. The things you know, keep knowing them and keep learning them. Even when I talk about budgeting, I've been talking about budgeting for 9 years. I still budget. Sometimes I'm like, oh, great, yay, end of the month. I got to sit and look at these spreadsheets all day. But it's an important practice. So is saving. So is having an emergency fund. So is investing. So is making good business decisions. It's really key. But to quickly round off, from knowing where you're coming from, I think it was 5 or 6 years into talking about money, my dad passed away and I got paid because his father was very rich. I was named after his father. He was a very successful lawyer. And I just had no idea that I'd never correlated the two, because I'm the last of 6 children. So it's a bit of an alpha omega situation. So it was, and things like that will help you. But also you have to trust your journey even when it's not making sense. But don't forget the basics every single time. Because sometimes I go back and I'm like, okay, let me tap into the basics again. I know, but it's okay. It's like stretching. If you do a workout, you know, you're not too big for the basics, stretch.
Necessary.
So yeah.
Love that. I love that. So to pivot a little bit, because the girlies love to talk about dating and romantic relationships over here.
They do.
But we've been awaiting your arrival because someone needs to put certain things in order.
Okay.
When it comes to dating, it feels as though conversations online about finances seem to end at who's going to pay at the first date.
Lol.
It's like, if you want your relationship to grow past that point, you need to be having some deeper conversations about money. And one thing I love about you is you have a series on your Instagram where you basically ask people some intrusive questions, but it's anonymous, so it's great. We get
the gist.
And you ask them so many questions about navigating finances, whether it be through their career, building wealth, but a lot of it also surrounds about within their relationship. And you have a lot of women who, you know, share with you in confidence, and you share with us, which is a great deed to society, that money can be a sticky topic in marriage and in romantic relationships.
Indeed.
And I want you to put the girls on game when it comes to navigating a romantic relationship and navigating finances in a relationship. What should the girls be looking out for? What are the conversations that we need to be having with our potential partners?
Okay, so the whole first date thing, first of all, who asked who on the date? Just go from there. I don't play that. I remember being, I can't remember how old I was, maybe late teens, early 20s, and I went on a date with a guy, and it was a cinema date. Didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was talking about 50-50. That was the first and last date, because I've never experienced that again, because I was just like, in the future, obviously, whoever you go down the line with, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So what exactly is happening here? that on the first introduction to each other on a potential romantic level, we're splitting it when we still have a gender pay gap.
Please.
And that's
please.
the tax that
No,
they need to be
please.
taxed.
Please.
It actually bewilders me because I have done the research and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And
It's
also like,
no.
and one thing about me as well, if I've gone on a date with a guy, or I've heard stories about people, oh, they ask for discounts, don't take that to heart. To me, it just shows me that they're savvy.
Exactly.
My boyfriend, when we first went on a date, he happened to know people who worked at the like bar. So he was, I think it was 2 for 1. It was just like a drink and stuff, but he was able to get more drinks. And I just thought, oh, that's pretty savvy.
Yeah.
It was fine. Like I never looked and thought to and I think because I talk about money, and I don't ever say this too openly online, because I talk about money, people always assume the type of man I date. I look for character first. Cash flow will come and go.
Yeah.
Because this economy, you can't control it.
You better speak.
Because it's a cost of living crisis now, and whoever was up on 6 figures before might not be on minus 20%.
Yeah. Not negative.
So,
negative figures at this point
hopefully
in time.
it sprints back. But the whole point is, who are you? I also think if you are going to pursue romantic relationships, you have to look at their transparency with finances and discussing it. If you are getting to a stage of seriousness, why aren't you discussing it? Do you know where your money is? I don't appreciate secrecy in any way. I don't feel like you need to know everything about each other before you're married, but there are certain conversations you should be having. You can also look at someone's spending habits beforehand. And also what type of lifestyle do they want to live? Is it the lifestyle of, let's look flashy, or let's do this, or let's have pictures and look like we're living this lifestyle? Or is it a bit more of a mixed bag, or is it, hey, let's think about the future? Because if someone isn't doing any let's think about the future stuff with you, do they want the future with you?
Wow.
It's okay if they don't, but you need to respect yourself enough to see, am I part of this equation or am I not? It's a hard question to ask, but you've really got to know.
Yeah.
I've seen and heard of situations where people are just like, oh, look, he bought me this, he bought me that. Okay, what does that actually mean? I've been in a relationship before where I got all the nice things. It was character I was looking for. It's not everything. So I'd say definitely look out for that. Look out for how they communicate sometimes when it comes to finances. It doesn't have to be directly. They don't have to say, oh my gosh, my credit score, this or that. But it could just be, oh, my credit score's gone up, or have you heard what's going on in the news, or something to do with finances, or is it completely null and void? And then one day you can bring it up. How do you feel about finances? Maybe once you get to a point of comfortability, how do you feel? And just from their response, you'll get to see where they are. If they kind of close it off, it could be a myriad of things. So don't kind of sweep them away just because they've said 2 words.
Yeah.
Some people, depending on their background, they have different, there's ethnicity taxes, for example.
Right.
Are they the oldest of 4 children? Do they have a single mum or a single dad? Are they having to contribute more? So I just think that there's lots of factors, but you also have to be willing to either initiate the conversation if they haven't, to get an understanding of where they are, but just kind of see how they are casually with things.
That's so good.
Yeah, no, that's super
That is
helpful.
important, for real.
I love what you were saying about seeing yourself as part of the equation, right? Where
Yeah.
do you actually fit in the grand scheme of things, especially within relationships? Because I think sometimes we can take those like immediate gestures in good faith, thinking, oh, this guy bought me these really nice things. That means he sees me as part of his life. And I love the distinction now that you've made between life and lifestyle, right? Does this guy see me as part of his lifestyle, or does he see me as part of his life, right?
I love that.
So I love that you made that distinction. Thinking about romantic relationships is one thing, but then also thinking about relationships that are more platonic, thinking about family. You also mentioned, ethnicity tax, right? And sometimes quite a few people can come from really challenging backgrounds, which means that their finances may not be able to stretch as far as they would like it to because of these taxes, because of, they may be helping out at home. And we often get a lot of dilemmas into the TMS podcast around, how do I manage my finances when I feel this sense of obligation to a family member, or I feel like, I have to contribute at home? How do I really, make a name for myself when it comes to handling my finances. So what would you say to the women that may be actually facing that, right? The pressures of society, the pressures of growing up in a family where they may not have enough, or just other kind of factors that may be impacting how free they feel with their finances.
I start with ABC kind of rules. B is for boundaries. I say that a lot. B is for boundaries. Whether it's society, whether it's your family, you have to set boundaries. Some people's parents have come here and they have had to hustle. And sometimes subconsciously, they can make their children their pension. They can make their children their reward for all their hard work, which isn't always fair because the child didn't ask to be born into this situation. I think it's important that you set boundaries with what you choose to give. And I'm going to start by saying what you choose to give your family. So, for example, the whole idea of, oh, yeah, give me your salary, or tell me what your salary is so that I can do X, Y, and Z. Decide whether or not that's something you want to do if you feel like it may be used in a way that feels a bit manipulative. Could it be that you say to yourself, the boundary is every single month, this is what I can give you. That's the beginning of you becoming an adult within your family relationship.
It's good, man.
Because the moment you start to say, okay, I can give you maybe £250 a month if I make, I don't know, anywhere 1,500 to 2,000 and up, or whatever, and the number can change accordingly. This is what I can give you every month. It means that you put that down. If something else comes up, you need to choose your boundary. Are you going to help? If you're like, no, to be fair, this is a problem and I do have the money and I'm willing to give, because your yes has to be your yes and your no has to be your no. Do not give out of resentment. Give out of you actually want to give. But also, one of the best things that my mum did is once we hit a certain age and we were still at home, she made us pay rent. And sometimes she didn't need that money and I was like, what are you doing? But it made me into an adult faster. To realize that as an adult, them bills are every month. Working is not a choice.
Yeah,
it's a requirement.
It is.
Literally, the way as a child, school is not a choice, education is not a choice. As an adult, work is not a choice. It's also very much a part of what we are called to do, to work. How we choose to work is a different story. But you have to be able to say you are happy to give something to your family and give something back to the people who nurtured you. Again, don't do anything with resentment, but boundaries are key. From society, because as someone who has worked in the corporate world, and I'm currently full-time self-employed, but I may go back to the corporate world, you have to also set your boundaries, because I always say time, money, and energy are very closely interlinked. Don't give more of yourself just because you think that's what you're supposed to do. As women, I think we've been trained that, oh, we should, how do I say? We should give more and hopefully we get more. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's good.
The systemic issues within the working world, they're not in a good place for women yet. So this idea that, you know, if you work 10 hours instead of 8, hopefully it's going to get you there and it might not get you there. Set your boundaries and you have to set them strong. And sometimes they may just compare you to another woman and say, oh, so-and-so does that. That's okay for so-and-so, but you need to have a balance with your life. You need to have boundaries. So whether it's your family, whether it's your work or whatever the situation, create those boundaries and know what you're comfortable with. Some days you have to work late. But I remember my last job, I was working on a merger. I said, okay, this is what I can do some days and some days I can't do this. And they'll say, oh, we've really got this. I'm thinking, you really had that 2 weeks ago and you had it a week ago. I now need to go and chill with my man. like I am not trying. I always say, God, please, I am trying to be the woman who is successful, you know, bold about her faith, making money, but one day happily married with a good family. I am not trying to be I gave up one side to have the other side. They can coexist, but they coexist with boundaries.
That's so good. That's so good. Ooh, this episode has been rich.
You were waiting to drop that one too, boy.
Indeed. But we're gonna head into a quick fire round because we have you here and the girlies knew you were coming.
Okay, let's go.
They've been chatting.
They have advice that they need. And
To
so we're
my
going to,
sisters.
you already know they're there. We're here to help the people.
I love it.
And so if you ever want to send in a question for a guest and you're not following us on socials, you're missing out.
You really are. It's quite embarrassing.
Okay, quick fire questions for Miss Bola Sol. What are your investment tips for teenagers? Should they start investing now or wait?
Start investing now through a junior stocks and shares ISA. You need to have a legal parent or guardian do it with you. You can only access that money once you hit 18. But I think it's good for you to learn how investing works so that you can start making good decisions from 18 plus.
Wonderful.
Ooh,
Financial
I was already
advice,
ready.
everybody. Advice for women. Sorry, I'm doing quick fire questions. Advice for women in their 20s who are just barely making it.
The whole point of your 20s is that it's the hustle period. It won't be like that forever. If you're barely making it right now, it's because we're having a crazy cost of living crisis, global economic decline, but I think we're starting to slowly make our way back up. Give yourself grace, but learn to upskill, find ways to make more money where you can. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to have a side hustle. It doesn't necessarily need to mean you now need to work all the hours God can send. Maybe it means you need to go to the next job that will pay you more money than where you currently are.
Right.
But don't be so hard on yourself if it feels like that, because one day you can go from I'm barely making it to I have a lot of surplus. But your 20s are such an odd little period. So give yourself grace. More money's coming.
That's so good. That is good. What are your best tips for a young woman managing her first salary?
Ooh, budget. Make sure that you're actually putting everything into categories and making sure that you're saving. Once you get into those two habits, everything else will make sense along the way, because if you're tracking what you're making from your first salary, it means that you never need to be one of the people who says, where did all my money go?
That's good. And last question is, what are the best options for starter investments?
There's different types of investments. So like, of course, I spoke about bonds. Bonds are incredibly safe. But then there's like stocks and shares ISAs. There's also people, you can have coaching sessions with people if you want to understand that. Of course, there's property, but you need a lot of upfront capital. It just depends. I would say first start by doing your research and like, don't get bored. Ask yourself the hard questions time and time again. It's okay. You may say, oh, I thought I knew that last week. I guess I don't know it enough. Let me check again. It's okay. So I would say, yeah, of course, with like something like a stocks and shares ISA, individual savings account, it's tax efficient. ISAs are tax efficient. And you get an allowance, a tax-free allowance of £20,000 per tax year. It's okay to start with as little as £1 if that's the route you take. But again, there's premium bonds, there's different types of bonds, there's government bonds, there's corporate bonds, there's properties. Like, of course, we can talk about investing in that way, but there's so many different ways to do it. And don't forget, like, an investment in you is something that they may have already done. So don't forget that too.
Come
Beautiful.
on.
That's why To My Sisters is here, right? You be investing.
Thank you for the plug, girl.
No, I love it. And it's
We
working.
did not, in fact.
Wow. I can tell she knows
Schedule
what she's
that.
talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Buy Your Money Life. Because I'm sure the book is filled with so many more gems that you can actually benefit from. Like, that was quick fire. Imagine what you get when she's actually sat down and written a whole book. So well done to you.
Very
Thank you.
exciting.
Much appreciated.
Very
Thank you.
exciting. Well, speaking about giving some tidbits of wisdom to the sisters, this is your opportunity to leave the women that are listening with one major piece of advice. One, just a little bit of something, a small something for the girls. So, Bola Sol, what do you have for To My Sisters today?
To my sisters, never attach who you are to a value. You are not your job, you are not how much money you make. You are you, and that is okay. Because there could be times in life where you don't have as much as you want, and there are times in life where you have more than you know what to do with, and you could have survivor's guilt about having that. It doesn't define your value.
That's so good.
A word.
A word for real.
A word for the wise, and hopefully a word for the wealthy.
Come
that one
on.
out there for somebody. Well, we have come to. I don't even want to say it because it's actually really sad.
I'm gonna listen to that in the car now. He was singing his heart out.
Chris Brown, Breezy back in the day.
An actual
Oh my
ballad.
god.
He was actually no, but it was very deep. He was too young, but he did
To really be singing those kind of songs, right?
but still we loved it.
To be 17, there's never a right
to sing.
It's probably because it's your first love. So that's why it feels so
Yo, that album as well, man. He was really
nostalgia.
Yeah. Shout out Sea Breezy circa 2002. Anyways, in true TMS fashion style, we often like to end our podcast with a prayer for our guests and just, speaking some words of life into them for the upcoming season. So, of course, would you like to?
Sure. I don't usually do this. But I pray I know Jesus. Okay, cool. Let's all just bow our heads. Father, we just thank you so much for Bola's life. We thank you for how far you brought her, that this journey started way before 9 years ago, but even in the 9 years that she has been doing this, you have showed your faithfulness. You have shown just how much you had called her for such a time as this to help women build wealth, prepare for the future, and really walk in a new dimension of stewardship and wisdom when it comes to the resources you've trusted them with. Father, we just thank you that you're going to give her an incredible legacy. That, Father, this legacy will be one that lasts decade after decade after decade. That, Father, you'll continue to allow her reach to be global and to impact generations to come. That, Father, when it comes to speaking about finances and wealth, when it comes to women and their history, Bola's name will be mentioned. We thank you, Lord, that you are continuing to take her from glory to glory. And we just pray, Lord, that everything she's invested into this calling in her life, Father, we just pray that it shall reap 1,000-fold. That, Father, you'll continue to comfort her even as she goes on completing this mission for your glory. And that, Father, you would surround her with the right people. That, Father, you would be her helper as she walks on this journey. And that, Lord, she'll continue to be a shining example of what it looks like to give God your money life. What it looks like to commit your finances into God's hands and let him prove himself true. We just thank you that she is a walking testament of your wisdom. She's a walking testament of your glory. And we just pray that as she goes into this next season, her phase 2 of building Bola Sol and Rich Girl Chronicles and businesses, we just pray, oh Lord, that your hand will be upon it and that you'll cause it to flourish for the rest of its days. We commit her into your hand. Thank you for such an amazing vessel for our generation. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Wow. Thank you.
Well,
What a powerful prayer.
Honestly, I mean, I felt in the spirit this time.
Wow.
I just flow. That's
You're
my
not serious,
personal.
please.
That's my personal intercessor. Anywho, Bola, it has been such a privilege to have you on the show. I know the girlies have been waiting for your arrival, so thank you so much for coming on. And I'm sure at some point, in those chronicles, if you want to come back to the Sisterhood,
I would love to. I love what you're doing.
It's giving part 2. It's giving series.
Give-
Our people will talk to your people.
we love it. We love it.
We love you dearly. We are rooting
Love
for
you
you.
too.
We support you. And
Same.
sisters, you heard it here first. You need to grab a copy of the book. Please. And we don't give recommendations like that off the bat. It's a very serious thing when we actually recommend somebody's books or their tidbits, the things that they have left in the world. And Bola is genuinely one of the generals in our generation that you need to invest in. So if you want to invest in yourself, make sure that you invest in Your Money Life by Bola Sol. And of course, follow her on all of her social media. Keep up with her because, as you heard here first, sis is really bringing some exciting projects to manifest in the next couple of weeks. So please follow our dear sister Bola. And of course, come and follow us on all of our social media. We are literally on everything at To My Sisterhood. Literally every platform you can think of, we're there. Aside from anything inappropriate, we're not there. All of the standard, all the standard stuff, platforms. The family-friendly stuff, the appropriate stuff, we're there. Everything else you need to report with immediate effect. So please follow us there. And of course, follow my very anointed and wonderful, excellent best friend at CD Boateng. And of course, come and follow me over at Renee Kabuku.
We love to see it. And to stay in the loop of everything that's going on, sign up to our mailing list for weekly glowing and growing tips sent straight to your inbox. We will not spam you. We'll just bombard you with love letters, sweetie. You can sign up on our website, www.tomysisters.com. You already know the drill. But sisters, we have to love you and leave you until our next episode. Whether you get a guest or not, you will manage. Okay. We'll talk to you very, very, very soon. And as always, keep glowing and growing.